Sorry about that. The studio was not put back together correctly after the other night. You know, when you have somebody slapping your co-host at 10 o'clock at night for a bonus episode, it was pretty funny. I don't know if you caught it, but Gary took a slap from a professional fighter.
Listen, I've been watching the slap offs,
the power slap
Olympic. Man, you see the guy's face that was swollen?
That hematoma had like a zip code.
I said, oh my
You know what
goodness.
he did? And we're going to get to the show, everybody, but I swear to God, he swung with all that was holy in that next swing, so that guy didn't pop that giant meat bag hanging off the side of his face.
I was like, yo, because when I first started seeing this, I started seeing it in like clubs, like the club setting, and then they just went professional with it. And I'm like, oh no.
Yep.
Oh no.
Yeah, so Gary's the executive producer of that show as well, that new endeavor.
Wow. That is fire. That is fire.
Yeah, it's catching a lot of different opinions. It's pretty wild, but I'm telling you, you can't not watch it.
Listen, I'll put it this way. When rock, paper, scissors was added as an Olympic sport, I knew the sky was definitely not the limit.
Whoa. Hold on a second. No. You can't be pulling my chain like that. Hey, for everybody that's just now jumping in, Anthony Hyland, decorated United States naval sailor stationed out in Hawaii. I want to welcome you to the show. It's Tragic Academy, a show created to bridge societal divides in a judgment-free zone using candor and humor. And we will not be slapping each other today. We'll be having a discussion.
Absolutely.
Welcome to the show, my man. How you doing?
Definitely. I appreciate it. As always, I love to thank, the host. I liken it to, when I was a teacher before I joined the military. You don't put everybody up in front of your classroom. So thank you for allowing me in front of your audience, and thank you all for having me.
I would like to say I own the classroom, so I'm kind of allowed to get up in front.
Listen, just keep all hands, feet inside the ride.
Oh, shit. You know what? Before we go anywhere, I would like to tell you that you have the most amazing quotes. You throw out one-liners, and I'm a huge fan of metaphors, analogies, descriptions. I feel like that's a key to opening the mind's understanding of reality and how we interact with each other. But you said one in your docu-series, Clout, the smoke is rated E for everyone.
For everyone. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I wanted to get a shirt. I wanted to start a whole series. As soon as I heard that, I was like, that is fucking dope.
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. I kind of liken that too. So, I do my best to be, as objective, as possible on my platform. Building over on TikTok, one of the things that I've learned, and I've only had the platform for about 2 years, and I blew up, rather quickly. And, in the age of social media that we're in now, not only do you have to be cognizant of what you put out, but also how you engage with people. And sometimes people will take that, and I'm sure we can both agree on this, they'll try to take that kindness for weakness. And sometimes you got to let them know, hey, the smoke is rated E for everybody. Anybody can get it. I don't discriminate.
I'm an equal opportunity employer when it comes to giving out smoke. That is correct.
That's it.
18 to 80, blind, crippled, or crazy, it doesn't matter. You get it.
Yes, sir.
Why don't you tell everybody who you are, why you're here, and we'll go from there.
Absolutely. Again, my name is Anthony Hyland, speaker, author, entrepreneur extraordinaire during the day. And then when I'm not doing that, I'm serving this country as a United States naval sailor. I like to say that, I'm a low-key superhero. They just don't know it yet.
Thank you for your service. On behalf of the show, myself, we appreciate you.
Appreciate that as well. I'm also an influencer over on TikTok. I Speak 1906 to the tune of 1.6 million. Whew,
man, that's a heavy weight. That's a burden that people don't understand. If you don't have that kind of following or that burden, you cannot begin to fathom the amount of interaction that you receive.
Oh, yes, sir. And then the stress levels and the things in which people hold you accountable for, they change every 100,000 followers you get. They just change and the expectations change.
Ever evolving climate.
Oh, absolutely. The reason why we're here is to discuss the docu-series Clout that has been done on me. All of our episodes are complete. The final episode was dropped on yesterday. Not yesterday, I think the day before. And the full docu-series is done, and we're seeking to get that out in the forefront of a situation that I dealt with, navigating false allegations of sexual assault, to the tune of having to get the FBI and NCIS involved. And it was just a whole roller coaster.
Wow. First of all, my sympathies for having to endure a situation like that. I obviously don't have an understanding for both sides of the situation. That said, from the perspective of someone that, is looking from the outside in and having watched the trailer for this documentary that was put together by another show. What was the name of them?
Damn It, Derek, over on YouTube.
Yeah, over on YouTube.
Yes.
Great show. Great tribute to your scenario and what you have going on. And without taking a position as well, which was something that I believe that they felt was important too. That said, you're speaking as a African-American man that's accused of sexual assault, that is endorsed and furthered by a white woman for allegations against a black woman, right?
Absolutely.
What does that do to the psyche and the life of a man in your situation?
Whew, I started to take a flight.
Flight?
I started to book a flight, and I was just like, hey, these folk got me fucked up, straight up. But I realized that, everything can't be solved with impulsive decisions. We definitely understand the history that comes behind false allegations, more specifically when you have a white woman licensed by a black woman, and my affinity for black women, for love and protection. It definitely did something to me. I started to slip into depression because I'm just like, I'm a survivor myself. I was sexually assaulted when I was 13 and 16 myself. So this entire ordeal has been very triggering for me. And so many different aspects of this situation, more specifically the licensing. And I have to say allegedly, because it still has yet to be proven holistically that the black woman hired her, so to speak. However, there was a public divulgence of a private conversation that was made public, to whereby the black woman said that she never had any contact with the white girl. And what ended up happening was the white girl was given my name, my username, and a story per what she said. What she didn't know is that I had 1.6 million followers. What she didn't know was that we were going to find out who she was. What she didn't know is that we was going to blast it to my entire audience. And in 24 hours, I pretty much knew her life story. And she ended up subsequently messaging me on Instagram after, drumming up this fictitious story from, someone I've literally never met ever,
Wow. Never met. This is the biggest part of this. This is someone you never met.
Nope. Never. And the fact that, she was so willing to go on that platform and just lie like that, eventually she came on mine. After I blasted her, she messaged me on Instagram and said, I think I bit off a little more than I can chew. And I was like, you think?
Well, you're getting your hand slapped for reaching in the cookie jar, but the cookie jar is the one that's feeding the whole community and everybody's looking at it.
Listen, it was what they say, it was a snapping turtle. Yes, sir.
I grew up on Lake Okeechobee, Florida. I got you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, she came on and I asked her, why were you so willing to just lie like that? And she said, well, it was because of the promise of some sympathy cash apps. And she's behind on her rent. So I said, I got to ask because, my mom, what did they say? My mind's going crazy. Yes. I said, how much are you behind on your rent?
You don't ask that question, right?
$2,000.
Yeah. I saw that answer.
I said, my life was worth $2,000 to you. I'd much rather just giving you the money,
I would have done that in a heartbeat for someone in a situation that is in need, in a scenario where they're so desperate that they're willing to take the life of another in order to
Absolutely.
keep their own afloat. I would much rather go 2K down myself to
That's
not
it.
see another person end up getting drugged through the mud and having their family gain generational trauma.
Absolutely.
That's the word that has become predominantly used on this show for a discussion about events that take place in the now.
Right. Right. Absolutely.
And this person just did it with no regard for your future, your family's future,
None.
anybody's. Why
And
do
I
you
think,
think that is?
no pun intended, clout. People don't realize, and I talk about this and I literally teach this. I study social media. My senior year in college, I went to Voorhees University in Denmark, South Carolina. And my senior year, I did my senior thesis on social media's impact on journalism, right? And I remember seeing an interview by Denzel Washington, and he talked about the media's responsibility when putting out certain stories, right? And it's sort of the same thing that's indicative of social media. Oftentimes, it's not a matter of who's right. It's a matter of who's first, who's getting the information out. It doesn't matter who it hurts. It doesn't matter who it impacts. Are you getting the story out first? Which now we go to ethical journalism. We talk about tabloids. We talk about, the paparazzi. Are we being ethical about our journalism? People don't realize that these social media organizations literally hire narcotics experts to ensure that these platforms are as addictive as possible to keep you on the platform for as long as possible. So when you think about clout, oftentimes I liken it to people that post what we call shock value content, right? They know it's not indicative of who they are. However, they know that when they post it, it's going to elicit a specific response from a specific community or a specific subgroup of people. Now, I don't say that in a demeaning way. I'm saying that as it relates to the audience that they're trying to either offend or get attention from.
We all have different levels of comprehension and different lenses with which we perceive reality through. And it is
Absolutely.
like a menu. You're a chef when you give out different meals to the community, and you start to tailor them to the community as each individual has tastes. So does the recipes that you create, because they're going to generate the most income for you. If everybody
Now,
likes
here's
pizza,
the deal.
we're going to give them pizza.
Now, here's the deal. Watch this. Because I like that you use pizza, and we talked about metaphors earlier, right? Perfect analogy, right? I remember I had my first brick oven pizza, right? Chef's kiss. Chef's kiss, right? Here's the deal. When it comes to social media, and I love that we can use this metaphor because I really want people to hone in on this. When you're making a brick oven pizza, right? You got to wait for that dough to rise. And if that dough doesn't rise to fruition, right? And you end up taking it out before it's done, you're subsequently not going to get a full meal. That's what happens with clout on social media. They oftentimes want to take that pizza out before it's fully done because it smells good. They like the attention, the dopamine hits that they get from how good it smells. When you walk in the house and you, hey, who's cooking?
Yep.
And they want to take it out before the meal is fully done. And the meal being fully done is the whole story being told, both perspectives being told. And then you realize everything that smells good is not worth eating because you don't recognize that those toppings that are on that pizza, you're allergic to. But it smelled good though. So you decided you wanted to take it out and get you a slice really quickly, not realizing that you just fucked yourself.
Absolutely. I love that analogy. And I'll take it a step further. As an outside person looking in, I would actually be, and anybody else that's not involved in this, literally someone looking in the window of the diner, making up what we believe is actually being thought, perceived, the emotional imbalance of each person, the perceptions that we'll make based on what we've gone through, predicated on our experiences, that may be a red flag in our mind that would never be a red flag in others. And we're doing it through the separation of glass with no sound.
Wow, that's powerful. That's powerful because if you look at, the full length of how things have taken place, That is exactly what's been going on. People that literally were not even there, people that have no knowledge of the exact situation. It's like playing telephone. Everybody has something to say. And each time it gets to the next person, it sounds even more ridiculous than the last.
What does 1.5 million people worth of telephone sound like?
Listen.
I literally just, I don't want to feed this scenario into it. I want to feed something else into that snake and let it just roll on through and see what comes out the other end.
I feel like it started as, hey, how are you? And it ended with Ruby, Ruby, Ruby.
That's exactly what I mean. It's so ridiculous. And we seem to forget that the structure of our reality in our minds, the way that we perceive each other, is made out of tissue paper.
Absolutely.
Being held by our own hands up from inside, which has no strength.
Well, I want to say this too. I think one of the things, the director, his name is Derek, one of the things that I think he did really well was not only tell the story, but also weave into it, just how dangerous social media can be. Because we recognize that once you put things out into the internet, I say this all the time, the internet is undefeated. I don't care who you are. I don't care what size platform you have. The internet is undefeated. They could take the most egregious situation, throw it on Twitter. It's over with. It's over with. You're finna get a lifetime of laughter. And in that, I think what he did, especially with the name of number one, is so marketable.
Yes.
Clout in so many different aspects. We see these with celebrities.
Chest.
Oh yeah. I think it was, what's the girl's name? Shakira, I think her name is. She broke up with her husband. She's getting a divorce because she found out that the mistress was eating her strawberry jam. You know what I'm saying? Like, and when that hit the internet, it's like, goodness gracious, the attention to detail,
Bro,
like,
I gotta tell you though, in that situation, I'd be pissed too if somebody was eating my strawberry jam. I don't know if I went to think for a second. I was like, is that a metaphor? Is that a euphemism? I'm like, what's she eating that can be called strawberry jam?
I was like, I have a few products. I like I literally have them right here on my desk. The Lifetime's Gummies Collisions, and I have 3 children. So it's like, when they got their fruit snacks, I got my gummies. Don't touch my gummies.
Man, that is an old school thing. There is a subsect of people, and I don't know where the dividing lines are, and I like to think that there aren't, but there are. There's a familial unit that will hoard specific menu items in their home. They come with consequences. They come with death threats. They come with things being thrown around the house. They get hidden in the weirdest places. It is unbelievable. Our house was Swiss cake rolls. For some reason, them things were a hot commodity. And then I want to say any Little Debbie item. Those were something that people were fighting over every single time.
Interesting though? You know what's interesting? Growing up in Philadelphia, where my high school was, the Tasty Cake Factory was literally right up the street.
Shut your mouth.
Literally. So we get out of school and it's just,
how are you not 400 pounds? Because I know I grew up poor. And the cool thing about that is there's a lot less shame when it comes to getting things, right? So you will go to places that other people won't go to get things. And those bakeries, we had like a Merita and a couple others that made all those types of things. And they send it off after a certain date. They drop it off at the poor people's bakery. I don't even know how to describe it. It's kind of like the Denton Bent. Where they put all the those dented items in this little warehouse and you go through and it's 10 cents. Same thing with Tasty Cakes, honey buns, all that stuff. And we would go in there and I know this place had one of those. It's almost stale.
Yeah.
Almost stale.
Not all the way, but almost. Absolutely. Well, I just liken that to running track and playing football. Because other than that, listen, what's that show, My 600-Pound Life? I'd have definitely been on there.
Man.
I'd have definitely been on there.
Aren't ingredients created by manufacturers the same heroin that's being created by social media and journalism and other areas in order to keep someone hooked for the longest amount of time. There's a reason why what we
Absolutely.
eat is banned in other countries, certain ingredients.
Absolutely. I think that there's a great stock in acknowledging just how these platforms work. I'm gonna give you an example. Let's take it off of TikTok. Let's go to Instagram.
Mhm.
I want you, the next time you post, and this is for anyone listening as well. Next time you post on Instagram, I want you to, number one, go to your settings and make sure your notifications are on, right? And I want you to do this social experiment. It's to show you just how the platforms will try to pull you back in, right? It's almost like when you see somebody out on stage and they bring that person out with the sweeper, or you bring the person out with the hook to just pull them off the stage, right? This is what I want you to do.
That's Showtime at the Apollo.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So this is what I want you to do. I want you to put a post up, right? And then I want you to stay on the platform and just refresh your notifications and see how many notifications you get on your phone. Stay on the platform. Then what I want you to do is after that, I say about 5 to 10 minutes, see how many notifications you get on the top of your phone. Then the next time you post, I want you to post, right? Whether it be your story, whether it be, your feed. And I want you to close the app out. And I want you to see how many push notifications you get on the top of your screen on your phone. The reason for that is they want you back on the platform. And oftentimes your videos or your pictures do better in terms of the algorithm because what they're doing is they're sending you these notifications of engagement of those posts in order to draw you back in to the platform.
Holy shit. So they're literally giving a platform to the people that don't want to consume.
Yep.
So those posts that are set to no notifications, mother.
Right. So when, to kind of bring it full circle, when, we put this series out there, one of the things that we wanted to do was not to just draw people in to hear a story, but to get them involved, get them to understand that this is something that the world needs to hear. Everybody doesn't have, access to the same resources that I have access to. The amount of men, more specifically Black men, that have reached out to me, that have told me their stories of dealing with these types of things, but they didn't have the same access to resources for me having that, the FBI and NCIS, that I can literally just go sit down in their office and speak with them and not have to go through and jump through all of these hoops, you know what I'm saying, upon which to clear my name, so to speak. So now, not only as a person, as a professional, I have to ensure that I'm clearing my name because any brand that I work with moving forward or, any organization that I work with, I got to make them aware because now these individuals are reaching out to these people, saying certain things, trying to get articles taken down. It goes further than just the accusation itself and seeping into or attempting to seep into other areas. So in clearing my name and getting that federal documentation, which is read, in the series as well.
Correct.
It allows me an opportunity to not only have the peace of mind. I remember earlier we talked about the psyche aspect of it. The last thing I want is a brand to reach back out to me and say, hey, aren't you the guy that, oh, absolutely not. I'm not that guy. I was cleared. No, because we don't want those types of things. And people don't realize, even just the accusation itself. One of the things that she said during the course of the series is that why go to 12 perfect strangers, i.e. a jury, when I could put millions of eyes on this, which is what sparked the title, Clout. Why would you not go to the police? Why would you not try to get some official documentation stating that this person needs to be prosecuted, needs to be off the street, as you would say? So in that, a lot of people, including myself, whom are survivors, are looking at this like, wait a minute, you wouldn't go to the police, but you decided to harass NCIS, which are literal federal agents, a step above? This isn't making any sense. And then you're, denying interviews.
Yeah, it does. It makes perfect sense because that is a solid wall that you cannot argue against your position. So if you make it your only wall that you yell at, then you don't have to what? Take any further action because you're now able to what? Sit in the chair of victim with no
That's true.
recourse.
That's true. I didn't even think about it like that.
It's how
That's real.
you portray things. And again, I don't know the other side of things. I know what you put out, and it's very compelling. And there is some eyewitness types of testimony or actual persons giving their, recollection of what they did. So when people make decisions to fabricate something,
Right.
it's much like quitting smoking, right? And I know that sounds weird, but once you pick up that cigarette and you start smoking it, there's a certain amount of high that you get initially. And then you keep puffing on that cigarette.
Chasing
right?
that high.
Chasing that high. But there's something you don't account for. Because all the way up to a certain point, you believe you can pull the plug. However, there comes a point in time where you can't. And then when you can't, you double down because nothing else matters. It's the point of no return. Ride or die. I put all my eggs in this basket and I'm going to pray that something pops out on the other side. Even if it's not connected, I can make it something.
That's real. That's real. And really and truly, that's where we are. The escalation of, the individual, the, consistent changing of stories. And again, for those of you that are listening, you'll definitely be able to see all of this on the docu-series. It's entitled Clout over on YouTube. And I think one of the things that people don't recognize is that those dopamine hits that people get from, doing live streams. And I know on TikTok, I'm not sure if Instagram is the same way, the number of people that are present in the live is in the top right-hand corner. And when you're doing a live stream and you see those numbers consistently going up and you're drawing more people in, especially when you're lying, it does something to the person. You can just tell by the look on their face, like, oh, I got more people in here. Let me just figure out what I can say to draw them in more, And now those dopamine.
Yeah. They crack the code. They're able to take people's minds and put them in a position that is advantageous to them. When we do that, we're trying to create a structure that balances us. For some reason, the person that's looking for clout has something missing on the other side that they're trying to fill, right?
Absolutely.
We're all children. And I would be remiss not to point out that the people that make these types of accusations and get in these situations are mentally ill. You do not make these statements without having something that has taken place through your life that is so heinous as to skew a moral compass to the degree that you're going to fuck somebody's life.
That real.
Means something heinous happened for someone to be so narcissistic. And not this person, any person. Because there's so many that this happens in. And I feel like Tetris is how we try to fix or level set our mind. We get experiences that come in different pieces. And in order for us to be calm, to feel safe, we have to plug every square. But that's not possible with experiences. Experiences come in fragments, in pieces, askew, broken, through a fractal, lens. And when they start coming down, they leave holes, those gaps.
Indeed.
And we need those to move down. So what do? We create Tetris pieces. They can be anything at all. It can be clout. It can be shame. It could be overeating for a scenario. There's so much shit the justifications for creating a piece to put in there to move yourself forward is limitless. It's infinite because it's not real.
Right. And I think that the idea of the attention that comes thereafter, that is something that people oftentimes, and I like the analogy that you use with smoking about chasing that high. I remember, I think it was on Instagram. I think it was, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was Drake. There was this girl that said that, she had met up with him or something like that, and he had kicked her out or whatever the case may be. And he literally had to take to his Instagram story and say, I've never met this woman. They have no idea who this woman is. But that person, because of who he is, that's not to say that I'm on the same level as Drake, but when you have a platform,
Why not?
people know who you are.
You're a human. There is no levels.
Well, I'll say stardom. I'll say
Correct.
that way.
Okay.
But I definitely agree with you there. You're right. I put my pants on the same way he put his pants.
One leg at a time. Actually, I jump, top bunk down. 2 at a time.
Listen, what Beyonce say, if you don't you don't jump to put your jeans on, we'll feel the same.
I'm sorry,
now,
man.
I don't know about jumping to put them on.
I don't have the physique to be jumping into jeans and making a commercial. unless they're like Lee stretch fit.
Listen, I'm more of a Levi's kind of guy, but I've been trying to venture out. But it's crazy though, just the idea that, this woman woke up and just decided to just lie on the internet. And for people that don't have platforms, right, this could essentially boost them, because here's the tumultuous nature of TikTok. When you put a video out, right, even if it's fictitious in nature, even the people that are, quote, holding you accountable via your comment section to say you're lying, to the algorithm, it still looks like engagement. So even though people are still commenting on what it is that you're doing or saying, they're still getting that clout, so to speak, because the video is still doing numbers. They're sharing it to other people. Can you believe what this person said? At the expense of the individual that they're talking about. Because they don't care. They don't care who they hurt. They don't care who's residually impacted.
This interaction is so fucking bizarre from the outside looking in. If I were an alien looking at a group of humans all engaged in this fucking activity as a herd, they're all looking at phones and they're all exchanging emotions at fucking rapid rates, like looking at a slot machine, like happy, sad, happy, sad, happy, sad. And they're all together just pulsing red and green, red and green. But nothing's fucking happening.
Absolutely. And the downside to it is you have people that will be impacted by it.
Oh, 100%.
You have people who will, subsequently take actions that I would never suggest anyone take in, what I call going the ultimate mile. And I think we can all surmise what that is. And my condolences to those individuals and their families.
That's real.
However, these types of accusations can definitely put you into that space. I know for me, I talked a little bit earlier about, my slipping into depression. I had to go back to therapy, as, part of this. I just knew that, and I talk about this in the series, I've never smoked any type of weed whatsoever. A lot of people say, sorry to hear that. And I'm just like, well, I don't know. But when I was 15, my mom had me smoke a cigarette. And she was like, if you smoke this cigarette, you'll never smoke another one a day in your life. And I was like, Mom, I don't need to smoke a cigarette. Smoke the damn cigarette. And I'm just like, okay, never touched another cigarette. When I said to myself, drinking, was not the way. It was not the way to get through this. It was not the way to deal with the stress and, all of the, tumultuous nature of the things in which people are saying. Because even once you come down from that drunk, guess what? The problems are still there. The people are still there.
That's the active duties or the service member's jail cell. When there's a traumatic event for a human being that is locked into a system that has no ability to kind of open a valve or a release valve for the pain or the mental anguish that you can be in, this is any human, when the structure says you cannot utilize any of these modicums of relief to help you navigate these issues.
Right.
Alcohol is the absolute worst drug possible because of so many factors that it can kill you, but it's legal.
Right.
It's legal and it can't be tested for unless it's actively being consumed.
Right.
People that know they're going to be tested, people that know their schedule in advance, will utilize alcohol as a coping mechanism to the highest degree possible until everything fucking falls apart.
Right. And one of the things that I can say on the military side of the house, number one, shout out to my chain of command who's been ridiculously helpful and empathetic toward this entire thing. One of the things about the Navy specifically, and I know over the years, and I know there'll be some veterans that'll be like, well, back in my day, mental health is a huge thing.
Yes.
Now they're just like, hey, in the past, I just, I went out and, got me a beer and I was good to go. Like, no, you weren't. You were traumatized.
No, you were fucked. You ask your kids.
Facts.
I bet if you ask little Johnny, he might be like, yeah, it wasn't cool, man. He wasn't okay.
Not at all. Not at all. I wanted to play catch with daddy and he threw a bottle at me.
Yep. We don't see that. Lenses,
Right.
man. They're lenses.
Right. So, they, encouraged me, to go, because here's the thing. You can't force anybody to go to therapy. You can recommend them, you can refer them, but you can't force them, to go get therapy. And in that, taking that onus to say, hey, sir, talking to, my department head, I think I need to go back and get some therapy. And he's like, well, do you know where the building is? We can, link you with who you need to get to. Because here's the deal. If my mentor is not together, I'm a small boat instructor. That's what I do in the capacity that I'm serving right now. So I'm teaching other people how to maneuver a very large piece of machinery, which I'm damn good at too, by the way.
Of course you are.
I got a few videos up on my TikTok, check me out. But I'm handling this large piece of machinery. And then not only am I handling it, I'm teaching others how to do the same. And if my mental is not all the way there, I'm not only not going to be effective on the water, but in the classroom either. Because we got to have those conversations as well before we even get out to the water. So people don't realize just how many areas of your life that these things could seep into if not taken care of your mental health. So I'm a huge advocate for therapy. I'm a huge advocate for literally going to go talk to somebody. There's an app, 7 Cups. It is an immaculate app for people to, reach out, have someone to talk to, have people that, and I'm not endorsed by them either.
No. I can tell.
It's just a really good app.
And that's what I prefer. I prefer people to talk about what they're utilizing themselves. That's what the show highlights. It's how you utilize the tools in your toolbox to navigate the experiences that you're going through. And if 7 Cups helps you get through that and you can pass that on to other people, let's do it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I agree with you 100%. I think everybody should actually have a therapist because our brain is a liar. And it's a liar by design.
Facts.
It's a liar by design because it's protecting us from pain. And how can you have a one-sided conversation with somebody that only lies to you to protect you and expect to understand what the fuck is going on in the world? You need a third party to step in between you and your defense mechanism, which is your mind. The mind is designed to protect the heart. The mind will continue to come up with ways to protect the heart. It'll even go after clout. It'll go after clout because the person behind the clout looks like Schmeagol. From the outside looking in, the only way that person protects Schmeagol, for whatever reason, whatever created Schmeagol, right? It requires a shield the size of all 300 in 300.
Oh, indeed.
And that's called the clout. That's whatever the payoff is or the protection piece for whatever it is. I think one of the things that you pointed out was licensing a white woman to cast that kind of judgment or accusation onto a black man.
Right.
Saw a video not long back, and it struck me pretty deeply. And it was about an elderly white woman that was on her deathbed. And she grabbed a nurse during this time frame and cried and said she needed to confess to somebody something. And it was that a young black man or child tried to sexually assault her, and he ended up being killed. And she, of course, hindsight is 2020. She was a child when she did it. Now was looking for some kind of help in her last hour for what she had done. That's a lifetime seed that will grow into the most heinous black tree throughout your body. Think about it solidifying every vein day by day, creeping through there. No way to top it except for just stand up and fucking never be that human again.
Right. Right. I know for me, and then that's so real. What I did was, all of the people, so there were so many extra players that were involved in this and pushing specific narratives or weaving together other stories that just knew they were lying. They just knew it. But that clout is so addictive. It's like they just didn't care. And what I did was I prayed this prayer and I said, Lord, anyone that's involved in this, especially those that know that they're lying, I pray that they never get another good night's rest until the truth comes out. I'm so dead serious. I pray that you don't get another good night. I pray that
because it's
that
so
your pillow is warm.
It is, dude. I hope to God your pillow never gets flipped again, you motherfuckers.
Never. And I'm so tapped in with the universe. Listen, and the crazy part is, it's interesting when you start looking at their videos and their live streams and you see the carry-on luggage that's underneath their eyes. I'm like, did you pay the extra $35 for that?
Here's the reality. It's about authenticity in every moment. You don't get bags under your eyes being yourself. You get bags under your eyes being someone else because it's a fucking job. It's not a job to be authentic. The only thing you got to do to be authentic is wake the fuck up.
That's it.
Come on, day. I'm perfectly imperfect. Let's fucking get it on.
That's it. That's it. And it's exhausting. It really and truly is. It's exhausting. And I knew that moving forward, this wasn't something that I wanted to spend my entire year, in terms of content, because last year, just for a timeline perspective, everything took place in December of 21, right? Passed it out, dealt with it. That individual went dormant from December 21 to June 22. And I'm completely out of sight, out of mind. I'm like, I done debunked it already, dispelled the myths already. I'm good to go. This person pops back up in June. And that's when I realized I got to take this off of social media. Some situations can be dealt with you making a video, more specifically for you being a host. You can do a show, boom. Hey, let's go ahead and address this, right? But then there's others where we got to start getting some legalities involved, some lawyers involved, some, agencies involved to be able to, clear your name, because there is an abundance of things that social media should not see. There's an abundance of things that should never hit social media. However, when you have an individual dedicated to a thought process, more specifically, let me bring this to the quote court of public opinion and see what they have to say. Because we recognize, and I don't believe in cancel culture at all. I think it's a fucking joke.
It's stupid.
I think it's a joke. Those that genuinely need to be canceled are not. But I digress in that regard.
Anybody that's calling for cancellation is under the age of 50.
I'm telling you. So, in that, I'm just like, these people, they don't care about what happens residually to the other, people. So I said, let's take this off of social media. So now moving forward, I have a better leg to stand on than just my word versus your word. Let's get an actual investigation going and let's get some actual interviews done with eyewitnesses and things of that nature to bring about full understanding contextually of this situation. And I think that swift movement definitely saved me a lot in terms of residual mentally, as opposed to what this could have potentially done to further damage my mental health, as well as those around me. With me being in the military, me having a whole family, you know what I mean? And, the work that I do, being a speaker, a professional public speaker, being an author, being an entrepreneur, doing business with people. The last thing I want them to do is to Google my name and see those types of things attached to my name. You know what I mean? And we recognize how society views individuals whom have those labels: sexual predator, rapist, child molester, et cetera, et cetera. And these were all pictures that this individual was trying to paint about me. Well, if he did this to me, what do you think he'd do to a child? And even went so far as to say, even my own child. And I'm like, that's disgusting. That is disgusting. So for the people that were on the outside looking in, they're like, of course, when you have a large platform, your supporters, they're like, well, how can we support you? We don't want to necessarily talk about that person. How can we support you? And I said, you know what? When the director reached out to me and, and I'm gonna be honest with you, and I already told him this, I thought he's full of shit. Honestly, he's like, hey man, I see what you're going through. I want to do a documentary on you. And I'm like, get the fuck out of here. No, you don't. And I was like, well, I'm in Hawaii. So if you can make it out to Hawaii, then hey, let's do it. We can film. And he was like, word? And I was like, yeah. And I was like, if you can make it out here, you know what I'm saying? Let's make it happen. What I didn't know is that he was in California. And he's like, oh yeah, that's just a plane ride. And in my mind, I'm thinking, I ain't got money like that just to be haphazardly taking plane rides.
No. That is a full legit conversation over maybe a solid year to two in most family households about a trip to fucking Hawaii.
Listen, and he made it literally within weeks.
Yes.
Literally. So he brought, and this is how I knew he was serious. It's one thing for us as influencers, right? We have our phones, we have our iPads, we have our laptops. I'm talking, he had a professional. I'm talking about the camera that you put over the shoulder. And I was like,
he came out like America's Funniest Home Videos with old school, like, phone.
Oh, yes, sir. Listen, you ever see the Maury show where they run it in the background? That's one of the cameras that he had. And I'm like, oh, he's serious.
Yeah, when your camera goes on your shoulder, you're either in the 80s or you're fucking big time.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. He said, listen, I got over $100,000 worth of equipment. We ready to get this show on the road. And then he told me, he was like, listen, when I reached out to you, him not really having a presence on social media, he's been in the film industry for over 10 years. So he's like, I'm not new to this. I'm true to this. You know what I'm saying? I was like, oh, okay, roger that. And he's like, you're being such a big influencer. I didn't think that you would respond. One of the things that I take pride in is how I engage with my supporters, because everybody doesn't allow the same level of access, especially having that size platform and getting literally hundreds of messages
Not everybody's
daily.
Capable of handling
That's true too.
That level of access.
And whoa, I tell you, the entitlement that people feel to your platform.
Mother. Yeah.
God.
Yeah. And people are very adamant about their situation.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand it because it's the only perspective you can have.
Mm-hmm.
That said, your experiences and your lenses don't trump anybody else's. You didn't get the blue blockers of fucking experiences that nobody else fucking can deal with. You don't have on fucking the darkest of experiences because everybody has a different starting point.
That's true.
You don't know how many lenses are behind that.
That's
Never can understand the depth of somebody's comprehension to any of these situations. And I like to use the analogy of soup. And if I were to look at a situation And these attempts as seasonings or ingredients, I would challenge everyone to go home and put cloves in their fucking chicken noodle soup and then try to pull it the fuck back out. You can't do it.
That's gonna be
ruined. And if soup is your feed or your personal life or anything in between, you can't unseason it. Stop putting shit in your fucking mental soup.
That's real.
Don't let people season your pot. Keep a lid on it. Fucking close your pot. And you know what? I always like to say that. People say, people don't get, people. We have no idea how much we give or how much power we provide to people every single day when we allow them to season our mental soup. We let people come in there. But here's the thing. Anytime somebody's tossing seasonings, let's use that. If you're having a fucking moment where you need to fuck up other people's soup, if everybody puts their lid on and just waits it out, they're gonna run out of seasoning. They're just gonna stand there in a pile of shit. Just like a child. What do you do when they're pitching a tantrum? Ignore the fucker. He's gonna run out of screams.
Yeah.
It's finite. He's either gonna lose his voice or pass the fuck out. It's how
my auntie used to say,
but
the more
what?
you cry, the less you pee.
And here's the thing. We don't repeat shit that doesn't give us a reward.
That's true.
Victimhood is a reward. Yep. Victimhood is a safe space. Victimhood requires no action on the person in the chair except for to cast judgment and shame to anybody else that they perceive or can give the assignment of the reason I can't make it. It's simple as that.
That's wow. That's literally all encompassing of my situation. Literally. You have people whom, and I like that analogy that you used with the seasoning in the soup. You have people whom, and this is what I started to see more so toward the end with this docu-series coming out, and them realizing, hey, your faces are about to be plastered for the world to see.
They don't like that.
They started turning on each other. And I started realizing, remember that prayer that I told you about? I started realizing that it's interesting when you have, now I like clam chowder, right? Really enjoy clam chowder.
New England or Manhattan?
New England.
Okay, thank you. Because that other shit is like something, I don't even know what the hell that is. They're like somebody forgot an ingredient. They made it just.
Listen,
that shit
got nothing to do with me.
Thank you.
But
okay,
the crazy part is, when you're making your chowder or your soup, so to speak, right? You're tailoring it to you, right? But then you have people that will sit down at your table with no more than the desire to make your soup as unedible as possible for you and more advantageous for their consumption. So you have people whom will sprinkle in their things, you know what I mean? So that you'll be like, this don't really taste all that well.
Salty
do
chowder.
You want this? Right. Do you want this? And you're like, oh, no. It's quite all right. And they're like, no, I insist. And then in their mind, they're thinking, yeah, I know, because I put my seasoning in there. So now they're eating off of the clout, right? Until someone else comes along and then they dump theirs in. And then at the end, we end up with, mentally ill people whom are eating off of one another's trauma, right? Because they decided to sprinkle theirs in. And the original person, which at this point gets left in the dust because it's no longer about that person. They were the catalyst, right? They got the ball rolling. Everybody else was just like, I think I'm going to roll it in this direction. I think I'm going to roll it in this direction. And now we just have a catastrophic event here. And now that person is standing there like you said earlier, they're too deep in. They're too far gone. They don't want to draw it back, right? So you have an individual that will say, it happened. It didn't happen. It happened. It didn't happen. So now we're sitting back like, well, what's the real story here? What's the real truth here? I like the fact that you talked about earlier, the lady whom on her deathbed, she finally admitted it, right? Because it speaks to the individuals that don't get the opportunity for justice, not even from a legal perspective, but from a moral perspective. This individual, it is my firm belief, has not gone and put their name on any official documentation because they know that they're lying. And that is where my focus has been in terms of legislation, and as well as major streaming services picking this up for the world to see. Because number one, the legislative aspect of it is what happens when an individual tries to put these claims on a person, but yet they don't file anything. Within the military, we talked about the UCMJ, the Uniform Code of Military Justice. It's the laws that we're governed by. There is laws against putting false official statements on official government documentation. There is laws against filing false police reports. But what happens to the individual? Now we recognize, and I'm sure that we can agree on this, that everyone has the right to freedom of speech. However, hate speech has never been encompassed in that.
Shouldn't be.
So the protections that come along with that, and I agree, it shouldn't be. The protections that come along with that under the blanket of social media in the absence of a filing, it is my firm belief, something needs to be in place, especially when you have evidence to the contrary, or as you mentioned earlier, a literal confession of guilt by that individual. Something in terms of legality should happen to those individuals. And that's where I want my focus to shift to in terms of engaging lawmakers, and more specifically, Netflix, Hulu, Peacock, I don't care. Somebody needs to pick this up.
So many fucking channels now. I don't like it, man. I sound old now. When I turn on my fucking TV, there's like 10,000 apps, and they're all different stations, and they all have 10,000 shows inside of them.
Listen, I'm about to cancel my cable.
I'm like, I can't take it anymore.
What's that? Disney Plus?
Oh,
You know, we got that too?
No.
Goodness gracious.
No.
What's that? I was about to say Firefox. Goodness gracious, that's a browser.
Fire TV.
Fire Stick.
Yeah, Fire Stick,
yeah.
Fire TV.
You know? So you got all
I
these different
can't find
streaming
football
services
anymore.
Listen, I get the
took a
Sunday
break.
ticket.
I took a break. Like, I literally took a break from sports for like 2 years. You know, when COVID was around and I was doing some self-evaluation, I just didn't need the shit. And I went back, and it was like a shotgun went off, and football landed in every fucking app in different areas for each team and different fucking. I was like, where the
Absolutely.
fuck is football? It's like, it's on Amazon, it's on cable.
What's your
it's like,
team?
New York Giants. I know. Here we go.
Oh, come on. I'm a diehard Eagles fan.
I know you are. I was waiting for this. This is coming to a head, isn't it? No. You guys are out. You guys are out. It's Dallas that we got to deal with.
Oh yeah, I think they got one more game for us to figure it out. It's been nuts, man. This whole season has been
fans,
nuts.
dude. You're fans.
They build different.
They're not doing the Eagles any favors at times.
Listen.
that street situation after that win was.
Man, listen, these sports teams, I digress. We gonna leave my Eagles fans alone.
That's the after show.
Absolutely. But I'm thankful. I'm thankful for the process. Not necessarily thankful for the accusations, but I'm thankful for the process. And I truly do believe that lives are going to change as a result of this. I truly do believe that we're going to set down a precedence for generations to come, as well as a blueprint for individuals, because I truly do believe that while I'm definitely not the first, I'm definitely not going to be the last to weather this storm. And I do believe that there needs to be a plan in place. And if we can, at the bare minimum, at least serve as a catalyst to get the ball rolling before I take my last breath on this here thing we call Earth, this crazy smoking ball out in the universe.
Yeah, riding the rock.
I definitely
Better than
believe that
smoking it, I guess.
it's worth it. Much better than smoking it.
Well, I mean, I've never tried, but people will lose the shit out of life. I mean, what is it in, I think it was Half Baked when Bob Saget said, you ever suck a dick for weed?
Listen, it's like, wait a minute, we just gonna speed past. Like, you ain't just say that.
So, firstly, I want to thank you for
Absolutely.
the strength and vulnerability. It takes so much more strength to stand up and take on things that cause us pain to help others navigate their experiences.
Absolutely.
While I don't want to say like it should have happened to you or something like that, I do believe that we're all on a path in our
Absolutely.
lives and that we come to junctures that will take our past experiences and combine them into a toolbox that we get gifted to us at that moment of discernment when we realize who we authentically are and what our purpose is going forward. I
Absolutely.
think that you have recognized that. You're a black hat. You're working in a school. You're very articulate. You're a public speaker. We didn't even mention you're the third vice president in NAACP and the president of the Ada
Iota.
Oh, shit. Thank God, because when I looked at this shit, I was like, this is my fraternity. Eat a lot of chapter. I'm like, I eat a lot of shit.
Yeah, that was when I was in college.
Chapter. I was like, who the fuck did he Now, is he trying to fool? I was like, is he trying to play a game on me? I eat a lot of chapter.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
Revenge of the Nerds.
Oh, yeah.
That said,
oh, yeah.
Continue being a lighthouse so that other people can find their path. I think that the only thing that we are capable of doing is being ourselves. Everything else after that is a stretch. It's something we shouldn't be doing. And if being yourself is sacrificing and putting out this content in order to help people navigate these scenarios, and I think that this is twofold. If you feel inclined or have done what is being discussed here, you need help. You need mental health help. And I'm here to tell you, if this is landing on your ears, there's freedom in admittance to whatever it is that you suffer from that is causing the need for you to strike out so horribly. And I can promise you, as humans, our natural inclination is to help. However, when we create these scenarios that blind people from what we're going through, we bind their hands and no longer allow them to give us the most personal approach to our scenario, and that's compassion. When you rob the world of compassion through lies, deceit, and weaving scenarios, you're killing the most important part of being human, and that's loving one another.
That's real.
I appreciate you. I appreciate your message. I will also say one last thing. I encourage those that have been drugged through time and did not receive a voice, that while you may not be able to receive quote unquote justice, just remember that much like a room for rent in your head, that particular person is living there, but squatting. And what do we do with squatters? We don't feed them. We don't give them sustenance. We don't provide them with electricity. We don't do any of those things. We kick them out.
Right.
And do we think about our squatter after they're gone?
Nope.
Why? Because it's not in the now. Live in the now. Don't let it control your life. I'm not saying that you're not worthy in these scenarios of the pain that has happened, but why suffer beyond that? I hope that any of you find freedom in that.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for having me on. It has definitely been one for the books.
I love it.
Definitely by far one of my favorite interviews thus far. And
I'll take it. I'll take it. I want that hat. I'll put it on right now. Favorite interview.
And there is a lot of vulnerability that goes into this as well, because everyone doesn't always handle things with the same care and concern. So I'll definitely say thank you for that space as well. And just keep up the fight, really and truly just keep up the fight. And that's pretty much all I had. Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right. You want to tell everybody where to find you one more time?
Oh, absolutely. You can catch me on TikTok at iSpeak1906, Instagram the same, Twitter the same. I try to keep my social medias the same across the board. My book, The Purpose of Power, is available on Amazon, as well as my album, Metaphorically Speaking. I'm a spoken word artist as well, so definitely feel free to download that. And catch me on the live stream. I would love to have you.
Tony, I appreciate you, man. Remember, everybody, be cool and keep learning.